Hi, everybody. Hey, turn to somebody beside you and say, "You've got what it takes." All right, listen. The last crowd was alive, so y'all gonna have to wake up a little bit. I know you slept in and you're a little groggy and you've had 14 cups of coffee, but turn to somebody and say, "You've got what it takes," and mean it. I realized in the last service that I'm telling you to say that, and then it's like, what do I have? Like, nobody knows. What do I have? Well, I'm going to tell you, so hang in there. Hey, have you guys ever been invited to something that changed your whole perspective? Like, you just for better or for worse, your whole perspective of something changed because you were invited somewhere. Let me give you an example. We just talked about these graduates. When I first got into student ministry, we were in a smaller town, but there were some bigger towns around us, and I started getting a lot of graduation invitations, all right? And graduations are awesome. You know, you get the invitation. There's a nice photo in there. You put it on the refrigerator. It's a big moment. And then I realized my perspective changed when I got invited to one that had like 6,000 graduates, and their last name was Zimmerman. And my perspective changed a little bit on graduations. I do still love graduations, so don't worry. Well, what about weddings? How about weddings, right? Weddings are beautiful. You guys love weddings? It's love in the air, you know, it's just romantic. I actually had a bad experience at a wedding, okay? And those that know me, I'm kind of awkward. In fact, I was walking in the door before the service, and two of our lady ushers, I just turned to say hi to them. I'm like, "Hey," and they're both like, "You're so weird." I just said hi. That's it. Anyway, so it's not uncommon for me to have bad experiences, but I'm at a wedding. And some of you get married, and like me and my wife, we had a very pretty traditional wedding, and we had one little slow dance at the end, and then that was it, right? Some of you are partiers, though. It's like, we got to get the wedding out of the way because it's time to partay, right? And so you've got DJs there, you've got a dance floor, and you're trying to hurry through your vows because you're just ready to party. And so I was at one of those, and I decided, you know, I've really been working hard on some of my dance moves at home in the mirror, and it's my time to shine, guys. This is my time. You know, I always envisioned, you know, in the movies when there's like an event going on and there's a dance, and suddenly everybody circles around that person, right? And then it's like, forget the bride and groom. This is my time. I wanted people to just, it was going to be awesome. And so there I am. And DJ, go ahead and play that track. I'm there, and it's a beautiful moment. You know, I can do this all day. 5th grade dance, no problem, slow dancing. But DJs are terrible at transitions. So I'm sitting there, and all of a sudden I'm stuck on the dance floor. So I might as well make the best of it. So I'm breaking out these moves and stuff. It's crazy. It's crazy. And then someone taps me on the shoulder and like, "Sir, are you okay? Do we need to call an ambulance? Is everything all right?" And so I pictured a big circle, and I had that, but it wasn't people, you know, it was like, "Oh my God, let's pray for him. Let's help him right now in this moment." And so now when I go to a wedding, man, I'll go to the wedding, but if I see a dance floor, we're out. All right, I'm out of there. I'll give you an invitation, hug your neck, and I'm out of there. Do you guys like country music? All right. Some of you really like it, and some of you are like, country music. So I didn't like country music, and one time I was invited to a country music concert, all right? And I was like, okay, I'll go. So we went, and we got there, and it was huge. There was thousands of people, and one of our friends' mom was on the events team, and she had seats on the second row and invited us to come down. So another invitation, "Come on down." And we're like, "All right, let's go." You know, I don't really care for country music, but if I'm going to be here, I might as well be down front and where people can see my dance moves. So we get down there, and Carrie Underwood comes out, okay? She comes out and starts singing, and I knew her, and then she starts singing "Jesus Take the Wheel," and I'm like, "Oh, I know this song." And so she would sing that part, and I would sing with her, but I don't know any of the rest of the song, so I'd have to wait for that part again. And then she did a few more songs, and you know, I just kind of waved at her, and she looked at me and smiled, and then she went off, and then come Keith Urban. Keith Urban, you guys like Keith Urban? Man, he's pretty. He is pretty. Come out with that hair, you know, shaking his hair, something I'll never be able to do, and comes out and just looking great and rocking out on his guitar, and then he comes into the crowd. And I mean, he's just right down there, and he's in the crowd, and I'm watching, and I'm like, man, what's going to happen next? And this is pretty cool. And actually, let me just show you what happened. You guys want to see what happened? Check this out. Check this out. So there he is, and he's signing a guitar with his pretty hair. And now he hands the guitar to some lucky fan. I'm like, wow, that's awesome. So this lucky fan gets a guitar, he's holding it up, he's excited, and then they go to the big screen, and you can see, that's me! I'm the lucky fan. Yeah! Keith Urban gave me a guitar at a concert, and I didn't even like his music. I mean, I don't even know any of his songs. And I mean, I was like, dude, but I don't know your songs. There's pretty girls. He's like, nope, it's yours. And I'm like, I'll take it. And so I took his guitar, and I'm like, mind blown, man. I just got a guitar. He signed it. This is a big deal. People are texting me. People want to take pictures with me. Hey, can I get a picture? I'm like, yeah, I'm a celebrity. Come on. Keith Urban's busier. He'd come join us. And then a truck came around the corner. Later when I left, the security even told me, like, you might want to stick around until everybody's kind of gone. I'm like, okay. So we did. And then we had to walk a long ways to the car, and it's night, and this big redneck truck comes swerving around the corner, and this big dude jumps. I'm like, well, there goes my life. It's over. God, thank you for this. Anyway, jumps out. Can I get a picture with you? Oh, thank goodness. That's all. But huge moment. And now I like country music. I mean, I DVR. When Keith Urban's on TV, I hit the DVR. I want to watch him. I honestly, sometimes I'll lay in bed at night and think, I wonder if he's thinking about me. Who knows? He could be. He may be telling, who's he married to? What's her name? Yeah, he may be telling her, honey, you remember that time in Arkansas? I gave that guy that guitar. Anyway, probably not. But my perspective changed. I listen to country music. In my car right now, there are presets of country music. Country music on FM, not on AM. Pastor Matt likes AM. No one listens to that but him, but I listen to FM, and I like it. It changed everything, all because someone invited me to go to a concert. It changed everything for me. And I've learned this, that every major intersection of life, there's an invitation. So my wife and I, we moved to San Antonio about a year ago, and we moved here because we were extended an invitation from Pastor Matt and Pastor Jonathan to come be a part of the North Rock family. And so we did. We packed up and we came down here, and it changed everything. We left everything to come here and change our entire lives. In fact, we were really excited about it. So much so, I extended an invitation to my wife, and in that invitation, we now have a son. And some of you over your head, so that's okay. The young ones, that's good. But every major intersection, some of our greatest choices are because of an invitation. My wife, the greatest choice she ever could have made, she said yes to me when I asked her out on her first date. I changed her world, changed her life. For me, there's been some big decisions. I remember when I was 13, I remember exactly where I was when there was an opportunity for me to give my life to Jesus. And I gave my heart, I gave my everything to him. And it was a big moment, man. It changed everything. And I remember they extended an invitation for me to be baptized. And I was so nervous. I'm 13. I'm scared. Some of you have been baptized here, and we have nice warm water. The water was freezing, and I was scared to death, but I was so excited. I remember the passion I had for this moment, that I'm going to follow Jesus, and I'm going to be baptized. And just side note, I was wearing like those wind pants with elastic around the bottom. So when I got baptized and come out, my pants were just full of water. I just wanted you to know that. But it was an amazing moment. When I was 16, my pastor at the time, he's like, Brad, I think I want you to preach this next Sunday. Oh my goodness, really? Me? I never even thought about that, but okay. So I spent the rest of the week preparing a message. And it was about 3 minutes long, and it was terrible, and I was sweating profusely, and I just said, the whole time. The Lord, said, and it was bad. But in me, something began to happen, and God began to tell me what he wanted for my life, all because someone extended an invitation to me. Invitations have power. In fact, I want you to know this today. You have the power to change the trajectory of someone's life through a single invitation. That's a powerful thing. So I want to ask you a quick question. How many of you would say you're here, you're in church, maybe not even North Rock, but you attend church today Can I just see your hand? Because someone invited you at some point in your life. Would you just raise your hand? Someone invited you. Look around. Look at all these hands. That's powerful. You probably are who you are today because someone invited you to church. I sometimes think about who I would be if I was never in church, and it's a scary thought. It's a scary thought to think of who I could have become today if it wasn't for someone extending these invitations to me and to you. You have the power to change the trajectory of someone's life. I remember doing a study in the book of Matthew when I was pretty young, and Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John are the Gospels, and they're the accounts of Jesus' life. And Matthew, he's writing about Jesus, and he's writing in the beginning all this stuff, and then the end, he talks about the death and the burial and the resurrection of Jesus. And it's the very end of the book when he's talking about the resurrection, and he's telling how Jesus comes out of the tomb. He sends word to the disciples, tells them to meet him at a mountain in Galilee. And in that moment, the disciples show up, and some of them are doubting him. Some of them are worshiping him. But, I mean, just a crazy moment. I mean, we saw you die on the cross, and now here you are today. Jesus doesn't waste any time, though. He begins to do what he had been doing all along. He starts teaching them. Okay, he'd been with these disciples, and now he's in this moment again. He knows he's about to ascend into heaven, and it's believed that what he teaches here are some of his last words before he ascended into heaven. Some of the last things he says. So we know it's important, right? It's got to be important if it's the last thing he says. It's called the Great Commission. Maybe you've heard of it, the Great Commission. And check out what he says. In Matthew 28:18, he says, "All authority in heaven and earth has been given to me. Therefore, go and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, teaching them to obey everything I've commanded, and surely I'm with you always to the very end of the age." I like how he opens it up saying, I've got all authority, okay? It's been given to me. Then he tells them, listen, I need you to take action. I need you to go. We don't have time to mess around. We don't have time for me to sit here and talk about how all this resurrection thing happened. No time for that. I am leaving. Jesus knew he is leaving them, and all of the training, all the preparation, it's time to put it into action. It's time for you to go. And so he tells them, and in my mind, it's like Jesus tells them this. He's like, listen, go make disciples. He starts ascending. He's got a mic, and he drops it. He drops the mic, man. It's an amazing moment. And the disciples are like, okay, let's do this. Let's do it. Jesus is serious. He knows he's leaving. And he knows that all the work he's put in, it's time to put it into action. And so here's what I learned. You have what it takes to bring someone to church or bring someone to a relationship with Jesus that's life-changing. And here's how I know you've got what it takes. Because Scripture right here tells me that you were called. You were called. Jesus calls people when they have the ability. If he didn't call you, or if you didn't have the ability to help people know Jesus, he wouldn't have called us. But as disciples today, same as then, we are called to lead people to a relationship with Jesus. You were called. Acts 1:8, check this out. Again, some of the last words Jesus is talking and says, "But you will receive power when the Holy Spirit comes to you, and you will be my witnesses in Jerusalem, Judea, Samaria, and to the ends of the earth." So again, this is referenced again. Another time, Jesus is putting emphasis. Listen, I'm leaving, but here's what I need you to know. You have to continue to carry this message, and I'm going to give you power now. And so what I've learned is that when we say yes to Jesus and the Holy Spirit comes into our lives and we begin to have life change and things start to work in us, we now have power. You've got what it takes to lead someone to a relationship with Jesus. You've got what it takes to bring someone to church who can have a life-changing experience because you have power. You have the Holy Spirit in you that will work in you. You have what it takes because you're called, and you have what it takes because you have power. There's an estimated 5 billion people in the world who don't know Jesus. 5 billion. I heard a message the other day, and someone said this. Said if you line them up, heel to toe in a straight line, 5 billion people would represent a line that wraps all the way around the earth. But get this, 30 times. 30 times. That's how many people that is. That's how many people need Jesus. That's how many people we have been called to go out and tell the message of Jesus Christ. Now, I want you to understand something. You cannot change the world. I don't know what your mama told you, but you can't change the world. That's all I have. Have a good day. I'm just kidding. Let me give you some hope, though. You can't change the world, but you can change your world. Okay? Your world is where you work. Your world is where you live, who your neighbors are, where your hobbies are, where you play golf, where you shop. That is your world. The people you interact with every day, the relationships you already have, that is your world. When we as Christians, even though we are way outnumbered, but when we as Christians begin to change our world, we collectively can change the world. Okay, I can imagine the disciples, there's just a few of them starting the church. There's just a few of them. There's lots of us. Imagine what we can do. When we collectively change our world, we can begin to change the world. We can change the world. Let me tell you something cool about North Rock, and it's this. We make it easy for you to bring people to church. We really do. I love that about North Rock. That's one of the attractions that brought me and Jess here, is we loved the vision, and we loved how it was such a church for unchurched people. And I grew up in a church where it wasn't so easy to bring somebody to church. Sometimes it would be some just awkward stuff or weird stuff, and it wasn't easy. And in fact, I brought a friend one time, and we were in a small church. We had these two wooden swinging doors in the back of the building. And I don't know what happened. I can't remember. But I remember opening my eyes and hearing just the do-do-do-do-do-do. My friend, like, busted out of there. Was, like, scared and nervous, and I don't know. I mean, it just was a difficult place to really grow a church. Let me just tell you what it was. It was a church for church people. It was a church for church people. We would pray that, God send revival and send people. We would pray and just expect people to show up. But that's not how it works. In fact, I love how in Acts 15, it's kind of the beginning of the first church, and they're kind of having a kind of a church board meeting, so to speak. And they're talking about it, and they have this dilemma. See, Jesus was a Jew, but they have these Gentiles that are wanting to become Christians. And so they're like, now listen, since Jesus was a Jew, shouldn't we make the Gentiles first become Jewish in order to become Christians? And James, he kind of pipes up here in Acts 15:19, and he says this, "It's my judgment, therefore, that we should not make it difficult for the Gentiles who are turning to God." We shouldn't make it difficult. And we don't. At North Rock, it is not difficult to bring someone to church. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years later, we're making it easy for you to bring someone to church where they can experience life change. Listen to me. Let me just tell you from my heart. When we have a baptism Sunday, it's everything in me not to just sit there and bawl like a baby. And if you've ever seen me really cry, no one wants to see that, all right? So I get ugly face like crazy, and so I'm holding back the tears. At the end of a service, I'm always, if I'm in the back or wherever, and Pastor Jonathan or Pastor Matt says, hey, if you want to give your life to Jesus today, I'm in the back holding back tears. Because that is what we are called to do. That is what the church is here for. It is here to help people know Jesus, not just to know Him, but know the life of following Him and how much better their lives can be, the transformation that can come from saying yes to Jesus. And when we get to witness that, that is the church. The church is not a building. We are the church. We are the hands and feet of Jesus. And I want to encourage you today to know that you are called to be a part of that. And you have the power and the authority of the Holy Spirit in you to go out and lead people to a relationship with Jesus. Let me share this with you, that our team spends our entire week, our month, our year, and we've actually even in ministry, we've devoted our lives to the church, to God, to help empower you to bring the people in your world to know Jesus. That is what we do. Our mission statement is to see lives redefined by being filled with life in Christ. We want people to experience a life that's redefined. And Jesus teaches us three quick things on what we need. What does the heart of Jesus look like when it comes to reaching people that need Him? Well, we find out here in Matthew 9:36 through 38. Jesus says this, when Jesus saw the crowds, He had compassion on them because they were harassed and helpless like sheep without a shepherd. Then He said to His disciples, the harvest is plentiful, but the workers are few. Ask the Lord of the harvest, therefore, to send out workers into the harvest field. Here's what Jesus teaches us about bringing people to know him, about bringing people to church. First of all, he says he saw them. We have to see them. Speaking to myself, let me just be real transparent with you. Even working at North Rock, even doing ministry for a living, I can go weeks at a time where I live my routine life and I don't see people. I see you, I'm here, I'm excited, but I don't see the people that I need to really be talking to about Jesus. I don't see the people that I need to invite to church. I'll go weeks at a time, then I'll just wake up one day like, what have I been doing? I'm called to do this. I've got to do this. So Jesus says, number one, you've got to see them, and it's intentional. So I'm telling you today, you need to see them in your world. The second thing Jesus says is he had compassion for them. Sometimes I struggle to have compassion for people. Sometimes when someone's begging for money, I'm thinking in my mind, well, I saw on TV one time they make more money than I do. I ain't giving them a dime. They're probably in a mansion. You know, I just get this attitude. But we have to have compassion for them. We're going to do a serve day. That's a great opportunity for you to have compassion and see and help and be a part of what we're doing. Have compassion. The third thing is this. He talks about the harvest is plentiful and the workers are few. He's talking about the people that need Jesus. And there's few people to go out and actually do anything about it. And also, when talking about a harvest, my dad is a gardener, and I had to be a gardener as a kid whether I wanted to or not. And it's hard work. It is. It takes time. It takes love. It takes an investment. And when it's time to harvest that garden, it takes time, it takes love, it takes an investment. Jesus is saying we need to see these people, we need to have compassion, and thirdly, we have to have a relationship with them. When I go to Walmart, that's like my place to invite people to church. I think it's just a dark place, and people just need Jesus at Walmart. Maybe we can do a little revival in there. I don't know. Where I come from, Walmarts are amazing. It's just different here, but they need Jesus. So when I go to Walmart, I'll tend to ask like the cashier, I'll be like, hey, where do you go to church? Oh, I don't really go to church or whatever. Like, well, man, I go to North Rock right across the street. I'd love for you to come sometime. And I'll leave it at that. And I've asked quite a few people when I've been there, and I'll be honest, I don't think any of them have ever come. That's okay, though, but here's the thing. I'm going to do that, and that's fine. But Jesus is telling me seeing them is great, and having compassion for them is great, but I also have to develop a relationship with people. You see, we live in a world where people are, pretty cynical and they're afraid of things, and we have to let them know that we care about them. Sometimes we have to listen more than we talk. Sometimes we need to invite our friend or our neighbor or a guy we know that's going through a divorce or whatever to dinner or to lunch and just sit down and say, man, I know you're going through some things. I just want to listen. I just want to see how I can help you. That doesn't happen a lot in our world. It's what can you do for me? And so when people see something different, when they see something different in you and you begin to invest in them, life change can happen. So recapping, we have to wake up every day ready to see people that need Jesus. We have to wake up every day and have compassion on them and care for them. And thirdly, we have to develop relationships with people that are in our world so that we can eventually have that relationship equity and invite them to come to church. Side note, I love when we do things like Father's Day, Mother's Day, or I love my church, things like that. Man, that's the greatest time to invite someone to church. It's just, it always is, but we do events like that to make it even easier, to make it even a better experience for people. And never does anyone come to North Rock and say, I wish I wouldn't have come, right? Bring people with you. All right, just want to throw that out there. Also want to point out this, that when we read in Scripture, this is just kind of hit me as I was studying for this. Jesus chose to go back to heaven and leave the job to us. You see, he is not coming back to earth and going to go around and lead people to him anymore. He is not going to come back and walk around and we follow him as his disciples and just watch him. He chose when he left for us to take over that job and be his hands and feet. We are the hope. There is no plan B. It is us. It is us. And we have a big job to do. Researchers say that about 80% of church growth is based on personal invitation. So no matter how much money we spend and billboards we do and social media, and we're going to do everything we can on our side, but 80% of the people that need to be here are only going to come when we as a church begin to make that a way of life and begin extending invitations to people. We hand out cards. We put them in your seat. We do everything we can to empower you, but we have to jump on this vision. So let me ask you this. Who's your one today? Who's that one person that you need to be reaching? And let me encourage you also and tell you that I have some friends. I have one friend in particular that I've been trying to reach for 10 years, maybe over 10 years now. 10 years. And if I allowed just that one person to dictate my view on bringing people to church and helping people know Jesus, it wouldn't be very pretty. So I want to encourage you. Maybe you've struggled with it. Maybe you have had some bad experiences. Maybe, I don't know. And I'm not asking you to sit down and do an in-depth Bible study. If you want to do that, great. But we're just saying, bring them to church. Let us help with that. Let us lead them into worship and into the presence of God, and let God do His part. Right? Just bring them to church. Let me tell you this as we close. Matthew 5:14 says this, and through 16. It says, "You are the light of the world, a town built on a hill that cannot be hidden. Neither do people light a lamp and put it under a bowl. Instead, they put it on a stand, and it gives light for everyone in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven." You are the light of the world. You know someone that needs Jesus. You know someone that needs to hear the message of truth. You know someone that needs to experience their lives being redefined. Redefined means I used to love alcohol. I used to love to party. I used to love to live for myself, but my life has been redefined through Jesus, and now I love Him. Now He's everything to me. You are here today because your life was redefined at some point. And now you are the light of the world. Listen, if you came last week and it was your first day to ever go to church and you raised your hand and said yes to Jesus, let me tell you, everything has shifted now. Everything has shifted. This was a church for you last week. Now you are the church, and now you get to go be a part of someone else's life and be the light in their world. It's changed because you're called and you have the power to do it. You know someone, and you are carrying this light that people need. You are going to work and to your different worlds every day, and it's dark. It's dark. And they see this light in you, but when you were a kid, there was that song, and this little light of mine, hide it under a bushel, no. I don't even know, what's a bushel? I'm not even sure, but apparently you can hide things with a bushel. But don't do that. Let it shine. Let your light shine. Be excited to tell people about the transformation. Be excited to tell people, I'm giving up a Saturday to go serve people. People are like, what? Yeah, I serve at my church on Sundays. I serve in 1 or 2 services. I serve every couple of weeks. I'm involved. Let people see that. I'm in a small group, and it's awesome. Let people see it. You have a light. Shine it. Let me give you and encourage you to take a step today as we close, just because I believe that when you partner with us at North Rock, when you come here and this is your church home, we encourage you to jump on board with us. And today just happens, we have 4 things we do, and today you can do one of all of these or all of them. So number 1, we say connect to God. Today you can give your life to Jesus. In a moment, I'm going to pray with you and give you an opportunity to say yes to Him. That can happen today. The second thing we say is grow in your faith. Today, you can join a small group. Today, we're launching summer small groups. Today, you can join a small group. We do small groups because we believe in it. I've been a part of a small group for my first time really here at North Rock, and I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Someone told me the other day, I joined a small group, it just really wasn't right for me. Go join another small group. Join 14 small groups. Find a group that's right for you. Just do it. Just do it. You can do that today. Next thing we say is discover. Discover your design. You do that at Growth Track. Guess what? That's happening here in just a few minutes in this room. Maybe you've been coming for a long time or you're brand new. We talk about it every week. Listen, come be a part of it. It's just a little bit of your time. We even feed you. And it's a great opportunity to really jump on board. Take the next step. Take the next step. Help us help you to be the church. Today, it can happen. The last thing we say is live your purpose. You do that through joining a volunteer team, and that'll happen at Growth Track. You can do all those today. So we encourage you to take a step. In doing so, it's going to help you to truly carry the message of Jesus. It's going to help you with that. Let me pray for you real quick. Lord, thank you so much for this day. God, I don't apologize for the passion that you have put in me for the lost and for those that just really need you. Maybe those that have fallen away from the church, maybe those that are living 50% for you, maybe those that just have never known you before. God, I don't apologize for being ridiculously passionate for those people. And I pray today, Lord, some way, somehow, through reading your word, through hearing your words, that this group of people would become as passionate about those that need you as I am. That we would have trouble at night sometimes going to sleep because our heart is broken for a friend, a neighbor, a family member that needs you. That we would learn to see them, we would learn to have compassion for them, and we would learn to invest in a relationship with them and show them the light that you have put in us through your Holy Spirit and through your salvation. In your name. And as we continue to pray, listen, as I said earlier, today you have an opportunity to connect with Him. So maybe it's the first time or the first time in a long time that you are just going to give your all to Jesus. If you're here today and you want to say yes to Him, yes, Lord, I give you my life, I turn it all over to you. With no one looking around, if that's you, would you just lift your hand so I know who I'm praying for? I'm not going to call you down, anything weird. I just want to know who I'm praying for. Could I just see your hand right now so I can pray for you? Yes, thank you, thank you. Anybody want to join these? Thank you for those hands. Thank you for those hands. Wow. I thank God for these moments. You can put your hand down. Pray along with me. Lord, thank you so much. God, in these moments, I know I'm unworthy to stand up here and lead someone in a prayer that is turning their life over to you, God. But I thank you for the opportunity. I thank you for entrusting me with this time. I thank you for those that are saying yes to you. God, and maybe some of those are here today because someone extended an invitation, and now that life change, that trajectory of their life can completely change because they're saying yes to you. God, and you made it so easy. All we have to do is confess with our mouth that you are Lord and believe it in our heart that you are Jesus and that you died on a cross for us. God, and that you are so much more concerned about our future than our past. That in this moment we can ask you to forgive us. And God, you forgive everything. And you take us by the hand and you start a journey with us. And it's the greatest journey and the best decision that anyone could ever make. And so, God, I thank you for those. And I pray that they would understand that this journey is not to be done alone, that you have put an incredible church around them to help them on this journey. And we thank you for that. In Jesus' name, amen. How about a big hand for those that said yes? That's awesome. Thank you so much.